to another episode of Lost in the Farmer's Market Garden Life, where today we're looking at this lovely specimen here. You can see this in the lovely foliage. It's finally decided to cooperate and look good. Its scientific name is Arachis hypogaea. Its specific variety is Fastigiata pinstriped, or pinstriped for short, and it is a peanut plant, as in the kind of plant that produces the peanuts you would buy at the store. However, its specific variety is not carried by any brand you know of. Yeah, planters ain't got no nuts like these. Well, anyway, it is in the Fabaceae family, which means it is a true pea. And the name Arachis comes from Arachos, ultimately. There are two or three different Greek and Latinist words in between it, and they're all derivatives of each other. And the original word referred to chickling vetch. I guess it resembles this plant. Anyway, hypogaea means under the earth, because peas are not born on the plant physically where you can find them. They're little tiny tendrils that come out of the flowers when they're pollinated. They go in the ground and they're just under the surface of the earth. So you have to pull up the whole plant to get your harvest and then sift through the dirt to find the rest of them. Pretty weird, huh? Well, anyway, this plant and peanuts in general are native to South America. This specific type, pinstriped, is native to Ecuador. It is you can grow peanuts in zones 2 through 11, but it may or may not be a perennial in zones 8 through 11. I wouldn't count on that. And since this plant is destined to be completely pulled out of the ground, I just call it an annual and make it easy on everybody. Well, anyway, its pH preference is 5.8 to 6.2, its exposure preference is full sun, and it loves long, warm summers, which, oh boy, do we have that in zone 8A. Its height can be 0.75 feet to 1.5 feet. So that's 9 inches. And its width can be 9 inches to 1.5 feet, which this plant seems to have that. I mean, I believe that is a 15-gallon tree pot, and it's just filled that out in the last month after sitting and doing virtually nothing. And yes, it does have flowers, but unfortunately I don't see any today, but they're bright orange and they're tiny. Now, it's also known under these names: ground nut, appropriate; goober, I prefer that as a name for a person; pindar, monkey nut; goober peas, which by the way is in a Civil War era song. Yeah, that's how I know about that one. And ground pea, which all of these are totally appropriate. Now, here's the facts on this plant. If you don't want varieties to cross-pollinate and produce nuts that carry the genetics of two different varieties, thus either diminishing or doing a genetic Russian roulette crapshoot on the offspring, you have to separate them by 10 to 50 feet, and I would verge on the 50 feet just to be sure, because, pollinators go and pollinate. Peanuts start out as very slow growing, but take off when the heat hits, which is exactly what happened in July. It's August now, and in July we had the hottest July on record, and what do you think this plant did? It said, "That's my kink." Anyway, peanuts approximately need 110 to 130 days of hot weather. Well, we've had that. We're in zone 8A, and that's normal for us. Above Virginia, it gets a little harder to grow them, and you have to manipulate the stats a little bit. They also need an inch of rain or irrigation a week once they're really growing, which, of course, around here, I irrigate, so yeah, they get that. The harvesting part of it is usually you harvest after a dry spell in October or after a light frost, which is usually considered 3 consecutive days of 40-degree temperatures or colder, especially at night. If possible, you dig the entire vine and allow it to sun-dry for several days before harvesting the nuts off of it for best flavor. And the nuts can be dry stored away, in a spot away from any chance of vermin or whatever. And then you can eat them in about a month or two. And that's it. Peanuts are simple. As a cover, there are perennial versions of peanuts that you can grow as a ground cover that don't produce nuts, but basically hold the soil and add nitrogen. This is not one of them. This is actually a true productive peanut. Now, why is it called pinstriped? Well, the nuts inside actually come out, once you peel the shells off, which are usually a pinkish color, the actual nuts inside of the shells come out as a purple and orange banded nut. I hear it's very sweet and very tasty, and we're going to find out. And in fact, There will be another episode when we harvest. So, that's peanuts in a nutshell. As always, folks, if you like this video, hit like or subscribe. If you have any thoughts on growing peanuts, go on and put them in the comments section. The blog, the forage blog, is on hiatus until January, so that'll be coming back soon. And as always, folks, keep them growing, and thanks for watching.